Did they just say welcome to worship service? I obviously did not watch that.
What is happening?
Right. Sorry, I don't know. Hey, hello everyone. Welcome to. Thank you for tuning in to the crew. Today is Friday, June 5th. Approximately 5 days from my birthday.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I believe there'll be something special going on next week, and I'm really excited about that. Hello, Adams family.
What up?
Adams. Leave out. Let's start over. Hey, we have some special guests with us today. The Awani family is here. Michael and Erica Awani from Join at the Hip. Thank you so much for being our special guest. I'm so glad to have you guys on. Let's open up with prayer. Sister Adams, could you open us up with prayer?
Your sister Adams or me?
Your sister, Sister Adams.
Yes. Heavenly Father, I thank you so much for this time that we have, God, to be able to come before you, Lord, and minister, Lord, to other couples. I ask, God, that in this time that you would bless us, bless all the individual families, those who are watching, those who are here. God, we thank you so much for hearing and answering this prayer. Thank you for this Sabbath. We ask these things and others in Jesus Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen. All right, so we want to start off the show with allowing each couple who have not shared to share with us how you met. And I think it is only fitting to have the Awanis, since they're our special guests.
Yes.
Share with us how you met, if you don't mind. Could you do that?
Yeah.
Make sure it's rated G.
Okay.
Yeah. And the truth. That's the truth. It has to be the truth. Go ahead.
That's where it gets tricky.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I don't know how long that's a long story, but we're gonna try to
1 minute.
We're gonna try to condense it and give you the Cliff Notes version of how we met. And there's obviously a lot of discrepancy around, what happened, and the details are kind of sketchy from my end of things to what she says happened. So I'm going to tell my version, and hopefully there won't be any.
No, I want to hear both versions, because somewhere there's going to be some truth.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll try to be very brief. So, I'm going to start. Okay, this is when I remember meeting her. Of course, she has a whole alternate story of us meeting that never happened in my mind, and I can't recall that. So I'm going to tell you from my version of the story. So it was Sabbath, and I was picking like a cousin. She was like a younger cousin to me and my family. So I was picking her up from the dorm at Oakwood College at the time, and I happened to be driving a large vehicle, so it was a van at the time. And so multiple women jumped in the car. So I'm thinking I'm just going to pick up my younger cousin type of situation. And then about 8, 9 girls jumped in the car talking about, are y'all going to Madison? We want to ride to Madison. Okay. I said, okay, that's cool. I mean, there's plenty of room.
Plenty of room. Okay.
And so it turns out she was one of those girls. Okay. So I'm driving to Madison Mission from Oakwood campus, and then I just noticed that she strategically positioned herself to sit directly behind me as I'm driving. And then I kept getting like little taps on my head. I'm like, who is this? What? This is dangerous. I'm driving, trying to get to church on time. Got my Sabbath school lesson. And she tapping me on the back of the head. I'm like, man, who is this young lady harassing me? I feel violated.
Oh, not harassing.
I almost turned the whole car around at that point. I was like, okay, who is this? And you are, and so.
Okay.
And so long story short, we get to Madison and we sit down. And again, she strategically places herself next to me. Out of there's plenty of seats because it's Sabbath school. We got there kind of early. And so I'm like, whoa, it's a pretty big church. Like, yeah, you right here. I mean, okay, all right. So, long story short, I really felt a connection there. Just having that conversation, we were able to speak, and I got a real sense that she was mature, she was ready for a committed relationship, and then we ended up going to Sabbath dinner at my uncle's house, and then we kind of hit it off from there. But it was that's my short. Is so much other stuff involved in that story, but
We'll go with that.
I'm gonna just you know, for the sake of time, I'm gonna leave it there. But there's some more to that, but
All right.
not too much time. So is that accurate?
Erica, was there anything that you're going to take or add away from this story?
I don't think I always strategically placed myself as he said I did.
There was a lot of strategy.
Yeah, hey, it was a lot of strategy. Like, no.
She finessed the whole situation.
Anyway.
I'm just saying though. That from my vantage point, and I'm not mad at you.
And our kids say the same story. Our kids told our kids the same story. So,
I really got that
yeah.
from.
That's
Turn
it.
them up.
But I'm glad she did. I'm glad she made her calling and election sure. You know, because
Sure.
there was other.
Okay. All right.
Wow. That's why y'all trying to get me in trouble. See? Never mind.
We glad y'all joined us.
Years later,
I'm sorry.
I said, and here we are. How many years later?
For nearly 14. Well,
14 years.
dating 16. About 16 years later.
Wow.
Dating, and yeah. So
And look at you all now, like a marriage ministry, doing retreats and all sorts of things. Like God is good.
God is good. He knew just what each of us needed, and I believe He ordained that and put us together. So
Absolutely. So, for the sake of those who may not have heard of Join at the Hip, could you share what Join at the Hip is?
yeah, okay. So really briefly, did you want to take this one? Really briefly, Join at the Hip was started out of necessity. We noticed that there was really nothing at the time. Not saying now, but at the time when we started in 2014, we looked around. We were all sitting around, a group of us that homeschool our children and kind of have like this friendship together with one another, and we're doing life together. We looked around and said, hey, we should go on a marriage retreat. And then we looked around at the marriage retreats that were out there, and they were like thousands of dollars. And that's just for the registration piece and the materials. That didn't include lodging and food and whatnot, or activities. And we were like, we just feel that we probably could do that on a cheaper scale, and it'd be just as fun and just as entertaining and involving as what we saw that was out there. However, we did notice that it was missing some of that out-of-the-box approach. A lot of the stuff that we saw out there was more cookie cutter, and here's what we need you to do: read this book, and then we'll have a lecture about it. And you do a little worksheet and go home. But we wanted something a little bit more different, structured, where you could come and really have fun again with your spouse. We noticed that a lot of married couples, you know, who may be interested in going into a marriage retreat, first of all, they may not be on speaking terms. They may have forgotten what it was like to court each other and have a good time. And so we wanted to incorporate some of those activities into our retreat. And so that's how that Join at the Hip was birthed out of that necessity, or the idea of taking an out of the box approach to the traditional style of marriage ministry.
Wow, that's great. And you guys are based out of Madison?
I'm sorry?
You're out of Madison?
No, we actually kind of independent. This is like an independent marriage ministry, but
No, I'm talking about the city. You're in Madison or Huntsville?
Oh, we actually, yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Our address, like if you wanted to mail us or something. We receive mail at the Madison location, which is at 500 Gooch Lane in Madison.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, thanks for sharing. We are excited to have y'all on, and we're looking forward to the not the converse. What are we looking forward to? The dialogue. That's the word.
There you go.
I am horrible with choosing words, so like. Anyway, all right. At least I do know what we're talking about today. Praise the Lord. I don't have to look at my notes. All right. So our discussion today is it okay for married couples to have single friends? So who wants to kind of take a snap at this one? Is it okay for us to have single friends?
So I have a question. Can we define very briefly what is the meaning of friend? We're not talking about associate. We're talking about friendship. So can we define that really briefly?
Nope. Whatever it is that you have that's single, is it okay to have that single associate or friend?
Ooh, so we're not going to find it. Okay.
I'm going to chime in. So for us, me and Eric, we never changed our friends from the beginning of our relationship. So anybody who Eric was normally associating with, whether they're most of his friends are single, and if they're not single, they may just be working on relationships now. So we never had a problem with that. We actually, for me, I always encouraged him to hang out with his single friends. And there's been times that I've done a trip or two with my single friends, and even if I wanted to turn up. Eric wasn't opposed to it. It's almost like just allowing ourselves to still be independent to a certain degree, still have that fun side that you can still relate to your other friends, because sometimes in a marriage, if you put too much strain on what you can and can't do, it might cause that person to feel resentful, or nobody wants to lose any of their friends, especially if they're like childhood friends, college friends, anybody that you sort of pick up along the way. So we don't make that a problem for our household. We say yes.
Yeah, and I think also for us too is we're able to hang out with our single friends together. Like for me, I'm a gamer and all my friends are gamers. So my single friends can come over at my house. We can play video games. My wife will cook us food and we just play video games, eat, and just chill. So, and then when it comes to her friends, if she wants to go hang out with her friends and they're doing whatever at their house, I just go and I just hang out with them. And that's kind of just like sit back and let them do. But so we can hang out with our single friends together. It's not like we're separate hanging out with them. Yes, we can be separate. Like I can be with my single friends and she can be with her single friends. But the relationship that we have with our single friends allows us to hang out together. So Dre and I can hang out with my single friends, and Dre and I can hang out with her single friends. So I say yes.
Wow.
All right. I think it depends on the type of friendship that you have with the person. One of my best friends, we've been friends for 16, 17 years. We pretty much grew up together. We went to the same church together. We went to the same middle school, same high school. So she's literally like my sister, but she's not married. Now, have the dynamics of our friendship changed? Yes, because I'm married now. I have, there are certain things that she's doing with her life that is different from the things that I'm doing with my life. So we don't hang out as much and spend as much time together as we probably would like to or are able to. But because I'm married doesn't mean that we would not be friends. If she called me right now and said, Samantha, I need you, I'm going. And vice versa. If I call her and if she calls me and say, Sam, I need you, then, we're going to be there for each other. And You know, there was a point, she actually just moved back here, but there was a point in time where she lived in Massachusetts. And whenever she would come home for holidays or whatever, she would come over here and hang out with me and Daniel. And he would hang and sit and talk with us for a few minutes. And then he would go and do something else. And me and her would just sit there and talk with one another. And there's been times where me and her go out to eat by ourselves and just catch up. So I definitely think it depends on the person, because one thing I really love about her is that she loves Daniel just as much as she loves me. She respects our marriage. She respects our relationship. She respects the boundaries that we have being a married couple and separating that from our friendship. And I think that's important as well, because if you have single friends, whether same or opposite sex, if they don't respect your unity with your husband, they don't respect that relationship, and they don't respect that boundary, then that friendship is just not safe, period, because of that. Because husbands come first, wives come first.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I feel like before anybody else goes, I feel like it's like for us. I forgot to mention this when I was saying it. Like our single friends, they respect the fact that we're married, so they know that, you know, they can't like my boys can't come to the house and just hang out all day.
That's a lie, because they used to be leaving
But-
at like
Oh no, but not all the time. No, not all the time. Not
Call
all
them
the
out.
go to sleep, and they would still be playing games at 2 in the morning.
Not, but it's not all the time. It's not all the time. One of my friends is watching right now. He could vouch for me. It's not all the time. It's not all the time. But still, they know that they respect the fact that we're married. So, you know, sometimes Eric can't hang out, and they know that. So I feel like as long as your single friends respect the fact that you're married, I feel like you're good.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So with us, it's a bit different because most of my friends were all females, and that made it very, very difficult to be married and then having my best friend. Most of my best friends were females, and I later realized, actually, once we started dating, those friends actually had to be cut off as a result of just jealousy. Like they were just interfering with my entire dating life. Now, I have seen them go through all these relationships with these guys, and I'm all, okay, all right, well, let's give it. Okay, well, I support whatever it is your decision is, but as soon as I find somebody, it became to be a big problem. So I'm the type of person where I don't feel, first off, I don't need to have any single friends. I don't. When I look for a friend, I'm looking for a couple friend for the sake of us being able to have couples dates, couples things. And actually, I'll share this little story about how us and the Bennetts even became friends in the first place, which is hilarious because we had just moved. Well, I remember how it felt when we had first moved to Huntsville. And so I remember they were in the Welcome Center at First Church. And I was helping with greeting at that time. And they're sitting there talking to somebody else, telling them, oh, yeah, he's here for, Dre was saying, he's here for Oakwood. We have 2 kids. And as they're talking, I'm just like, check.
He was stalking us as
when I'm looking for friends, I'm looking for you had to make the list. Not everybody makes my friends list.
Stalker.
Number 1 was that you're married, so that automatically qualifies you to go through the next list. So anyway, for us, we actually prefer to have married friends. It just makes life so much less complicated. And those are things that we just don't have to worry about. And it's different for us because I think a lot of your friends were male too, right?
Yeah.
She had a lot of male friends and I had a lot of female friends. And so we just knew, okay, this is not going to work. So here we are with the crew.
I think for us, like I have single female friends.
Hold on, Andrian speaking. You can't hear me?
Well, we were trying to.
No, I think I have other female friends who are single, some who I hang with, but my husband knows them. and he has single friends.
No, I don't.
Well,
No,
wait
I
a
don't.
minute. No,
No, I don't.
he doesn't. They're married. But we are, as far as like the opposite sex, I don't do opposite sex friends. Like it's not even an option for me. I think that is, it can lead to so much more, even if it's not something that's in your heart to do. If it's not something that you want to do, the possibility is just there. And so I'm all for shunning the very appearance of evil. And any single female is, you're just evil.
You're not evil.
I can agree.
Because you're single.
No, if you're friends with a married, it's you, not everybody else. But yeah.
And for me, my thing is always, I've grown to the point where I thought that we could have individual friends. She could have guy friends. No, she could never have guy friends.
No.
I could have female friends, and I could have guy friends, and then she would become friends with all of them. And the more you grow and the more you mature as far as with God is concerned, you don't need, one, to be calling everybody your friend. Two, you don't need to always take on different spirits when it comes to different people and their issues and their drama. And then three, it's not healthy for a relationship, I feel, to always be with your single friends. Now, it's not their fault that they're not married. I mean, it's not a curse or anything like that. But for the growth of our marriage, we would prefer to be around married folks. That's it. Because I need somebody to be able to speak to where I'm at, as opposed to guess about it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. Mike and Erica?
Yeah.
This is a not a touchy subject, but I think that I'm drawing a blank here, but Brother Adam just said, he touched on something I think is very important, that if you're going to have single friends, that those friends also become friends of your spouse. I think if and I'm not saying you have to force that relationship if it's not organic, but it's just very strange to be married to someone and you guys have separate friends that your spouse is not necessarily comfortable around or friends with. It could create all types of dynamics and challenges. So my childhood friends that happen to be single right now, I still stay in contact with them, but there is a natural separation there once you become married, because our lifestyles are going in contrary direction. I'm living a different life. I'm married. I'm dealing with the challenges of marriage, the ebbs and flows with that, and then also raising children. A lot of these single friends of mine don't have children, so they'll never have that same. We don't have that same point of reference anymore to connect on. And obviously, there's things from our past that we could reminisce on and find joy and laughter in those things. But to be honest, as we grow and mature, there becomes a natural separation there. And it's not, go ahead.
So there was a natural separation with his friends. And like he said, they've known each other forever. And I never wanted to come between his friendships. But his friends also, although they're still single, I never felt disrespected. They were never rude. Like if they called right now and said, Mike, I need to go talk, I'll be like, peace out. Like they're basically brothers, and they have been there since day one. So I've never felt disrespected, and I think that's what's helped him remain or keep his single friends. I had a lot of guy friends like Jamil, and so naturally when we got married, those were evolved or they kind of cut off or whatever. But now we would both prefer married.
Yes, like Jamil said, there is now we might not have a list. I don't know if we.
No, you gotta have kids. We're
not that exclusive, but we do have an affinity and a gravitation towards other married couples. It like you said, it makes things a little bit easier. There's a level of understanding. We could always get back to that same point of reference. The husband in the relationship is going to be dealing with similar struggles that I am, and we can connect on that level and build a friendship. based off of our similarities. So
Yeah.
Now I want to paint a different perspective. I remember prior to Daniel and I getting married, my best friend has been married for 17 years. 17 years. And I was the single friend and she was the married friend. So I had gotten really, really close with her, and I had gotten really, really close with her husband. And then when Daniel and I started dating, they welcomed him with open arms. And now the four of us are really, really great friends and really, really close. But one thing I can definitely say that I appreciate about the friendship is that while I was single and she was married with children, she kind of put me on game. Like, I was not making great choices when it came to the guys that I was choosing, the guys that I was dating. I was able to, she opened my eyes to, you know, what a Christian marriage looked like, you know, how it looked like to have your family go to church together, to worship together, to have that environment even with your children, having worship with them every night, and, you know, cooking dinner and things like that. And so I definitely appreciate that part of our friendship, that she and her husband was okay with, you know, her kind of sort of taking me under her wing. And that kind of raised the bar as far as what I was starting to accept or tolerate or look for when it came to the men that I was dating and the choices that I was making in my relationship. And to the point where I was like, you know what? I'm not talking to anybody else. I'm not dating anybody else. Like, Lord, you're going to have to make it plain as day before I date anyone else. And that's when I met Daniel. So I said all that to say, would any of you be open to like doing that for, you know, if you met someone who's saying, I want to be married, I want to be in a committed relationship, but they've never really seen an example of that, or what that looks like, or, you know what I'm saying, or healthy relationships, healthy communication, healthy conflict, all the things that we talk about, the things that we deal with. Like, would you be willing to kind of take somebody under your wing and show them the way, a female or a male friend, not necessarily opposite sex, but like, you know, Jamil, if you take a guy, single guy, and Jameen, if you take a single girl like that, would you be open to doing it that way?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, this one couple actually asked us if we can do premarital counseling with them. I mean, she was, you know what I'm talking about, right? She was, they were dating, but they weren't married, but they came to us as for guidance.
Yeah, so I think Shari actually mentioned, I'm gonna put her note back up. She said, let me make sure I understand what you all are saying. Most of you feel that couples shouldn't be close friends with singles. And so for us, I feel like it's not, my explanation is for me to have my own single friends, and then she has her own single friends, and there's not unity between the friendships and your spouse. So we currently have single friends, but most of her single friends are my single friends, and my single friends are her single friends. So it makes it a lot easier. So things become complicated when you have single friends, but they're not on talking terms with your spouse. So ultimately, what happens in the house is what comes first. Is what's priority. So we currently have single friends, and we love them.
It's the same for
I think
we have our own, like I said, we have our own separate single friends, but we as a couple, we have relationships with each other's single friends. Like, we're still able to hang out. Dre and I can hang out with my single friends, and Dre and I can hang out with her single friends. So I feel like, to answer Shari's question, for us, I feel like, yeah, you can still have your single friends and hang out with them as a couple.
Let me take it a step further and ask this question. Is it okay to have a single friend, or maybe they're not single, but is it okay to be friends with an ex that you were friends with before you
No.
became?
No,
Hold on now,
no,
hold
no.
on.
I don't even want to hear. I don't want to hear. No, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That ex is no longer my person anymore, and that we're just friends now. Like, there's nothing. What about that, guys?
Wait. Before we get on to that, let's address the question that Jamil had said. Somebody commented on about the
Yeah.
You talking about the what Shari had said?
Yeah, she wanted to understand, Sam. She wanted to understand if most of us were saying that we feel couples shouldn't have single friends. That's what she was trying to get an understanding on. So if you had a take on it, by all means, go ahead.
I was just gonna add that I think it just depends on the couple. It depends on the marriage, what boundaries you have set, what type of friendships they are, and if they're going to be harmful to your marriage.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate goal. If that friendship has the potential to do damage to your marriage, then no. But if it's something that y'all can cohesively have and your spouse is okay with it, then I think it's okay.
Okay, so we got a couple
Back to
comments. We got a couple comments. So Drea says, "Is it okay to be friends with your ex?" And Brianna said, "Oh, hello, no. It is not okay." And then she followed up with a question: "Did y'all have sex though?"
That's a definite no.
That's a double no. That's a double no.
What's going on anymore? We just friends now.
Every answer is no. Acquainted.
We will. I think that you can be associate with your ex, not friends. Because when I think about a friend, it's somebody that I can call and talk about anything, everything. That cannot be my ex, or that cannot be somebody from the opposite sex. Why? Because I don't see myself telling a female friend that my wife is not doing this, my wife is doing this, or my wife is failing to do this. So that cannot happen. So I don't think so.
I agree.
I don't even think I need to elaborate.
Me neither.
No.
Yeah. So getting back, I mean, hopefully that answered your question, Shari. But to the question that Samantha brought up, or she posed, should you take in more of like a mentorship role to a single person of the same sex, kind of show them the way and what challenges to look towards in marriage? And in my opinion, I don't know if that's the approach right now. That would have to be something that God would have to reveal to me, because I believe that you open yourself up to a risk of bringing a single person. Now, if this person was from your past and you were friends with them from childhood, or let's say, then that's different. But to just go out and actively look and seek out to be paired up with someone single and bring them into kind of the folds of your
she was saying
relationship.
that Samantha was saying that friendship existed before, or
Yeah, but then she posed the question. That's what could you take on a project such as mentoring someone of the same sex about marriage?
I think even
single.
if you don't see it as a project, your people are looking at you 24/7. So before you even open your mouth, how we interact with one another, it's being looked upon, as an example. It's good or for bad.
Right.
So even if you don't take it as a project, still allow God to use you as an example, so that single people don't look at your marriage and be like, "Oh heck no," or "I'm waiting 10 years before I get into that," or whatever. Just see yourself as an example.
Yeah, I think that was a great point. Like, are you in a position to mentor this friend, or is this a friend that you're going to vent about the problems in your relationship?
Right.
And that's where you have the issues. That's where the enemy sneaks in, and and that's where all the problems happen. So, what is the nature of your friendship? I guess that has a lot to do with
But also, I feel like not even. I feel like what's the what area is your marriage at? Can your marriage withstand mentoring someone?
Yes.
I mean, I know for a fact that there's certain people I would never want too close in my marriage. Like,
Yeah.
never. Like, there's certain people I can't trust with my marriage. Like, I can't trust in my house for a long period of time. So you can't. You know, some people, they see what you have and they're not looking to have something like it. They're looking for your husband,
Right.
or they want your wife. So sometimes you can try to help a person to the point where you torpedo your own situation.
Yeah.
So like, there are limits to how long a person needs to be around. They can't be having those sleepovers over the house.
Sleepovers.
I'm telling you, some single people, they're so comfortable. They're like a sister now, or they're like a, you know what I'm saying? So they just end up just spending the night every now and then. And then next thing you know, you see them walk out the bathroom with just a towel on, and you see the imprint of their, and then now you're just like, oh, dang. Certain things are dangerous. Like, you don't want to open up a door.
And just like that, the devil slipped in.
Half naked in the middle of the night trying to use the bathroom, and then your husband sees her in her little skimpy little, you know what I'm saying? So stuff like that.
Bam.
Yes.
She gonna get got.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm in a way to.
Oh, Drea, yeah, you see.
I think it's definitely
Problems over here in our house, Drea. Andrea and friends are welcome.
Shut up.
I think it's definitely important to have boundaries. Whether there are married friends or single friends, period, it's important to have boundaries.
Yeah.
Because when the boundaries are not understood between husband and wife, it's easier for the devil to do whatever he wants in your marriage.
Mhm.
So it's definitely important to have boundaries. Now, not excluding the fact that you need to have God in the middle of your relationship, but you have God, you have boundaries in your marriage, so you guys know where to stand. And if you know that you have a weak spot for women, then clearly do not have single friends that are female. Do not. But if you know that you can handle that, then by all means.
Yeah. So for those who think that it is okay, some of us do have single friends and think it's okay. How much time is too much time that you spend with your single friends? So I know, Eric, you mentioned sometimes y'all play video games, and Dre was like, they were there till 2 a.m. At what point, and this is for anybody, at what point do you say, okay, and then also, is it controlling if your wife says, okay, you can go hang out with the boys, but you need to be home by this time? How much time is too much time if it's okay to spend time with your single friends?
I think it depends on the friends. Every friend is totally different. Some friends have a clock, some friends don't. Some friends are going to leave.
Yeah.
That's true.
And even when friends when Eric's friends, I didn't have a problem with it. So it's not.
Hold on, everybody mute your phones, and you need to say that again.
What I was saying was, I said it depends on the friends, because even with Eric's friends staying until 2 a.m, I didn't mind that, because literally they're like his brothers and they're like mine. So I just went to sleep. You know, anytime they would stay over and it would be super late, I would just make myself scarce, and I would just be on my phone scrolling in the bed or something like that, you know, in a separate room. But there are some people that they really have no clock. They will stay, as you know, you could tell when a person wants you to leave. You start giving gestures like you get up, you start talking about how tired you are. You know, certain things are a dead giveaway. You need to start making your way out the front door. But some people don't get it.
A lot of people don't get it.
I would also say that, like, when I was the single friend, I would like when I would go to my friend's Bree house, like, I would wear sweatpants, like, If I had on tights, my shirt would be down to my knees, you know, turtlenecks. Like, I would try to dress as modest as possible, not because I thought that her husband was looking at me. It's because I want you to know that I respect that boundary, and I'm not gonna just come over here, you know, with all my business out, exposed and stuff like that, what prancing around in front of your husband, and I'm single. Like, who doing that? Yeah. So I think that that, or at least I hope that showed a sign to them that I respected their marriage, that I respected her and her husband, and that I wasn't just going to be coming over there looking any old kind of way in front of her husband, you know, doing things like that. And I think that's also a sign, like, if you do have a single friend and her clothes a little bit too tight, a little bit too short, she oh, okay, like, if she's doing all that, it's time for her to go, and that friendship needs to end, because why you gotta touch his arm just to laugh? Like, she don't need to touch your arm to laugh. I mean, she can laugh just regularly.
Yeah.
I'm your wife.
Yeah.
I have to admit that Jameen has actually experienced that, where there's been, and I wouldn't even say they were friends, but just there has been females where when they come around, they'll laugh and grab an arm or a knee if we're sitting next to each other, and they're touchy people. Now, I may not notice it initially, but Jameen sees things, and it took me a minute to realize. I'm like, come on, you're being dramatic. No, it's not. But when I really opened up my eyes to the fact, okay, yeah, you're right, I'm starting to see things, and I think it's important for us as men to realize that women do still have that intuition. And they know when something's not right. They got that radar where, okay, this woman, she's looking a little too hard. And I honestly had to learn how to trust my wife in that, coming from a background where I have nothing but a bunch of female friends. And she said, I don't know, it's something about that one. And everything that she said was true. So putting my ego aside and saying, you know what, my marriage is more important. There are some intentions here that may not be right or pure. And so we got to move on. Is this friendship worth the destruction of your marriage?
Right. Yeah, I think for me, there would be friends who would, not friends of mine, but other women who would speak to my husband in church with their back to me and not say two words. And those were the ones who the Lord just stepped in and saved from, first of all. But second, they were the ones who, you know, eventually, you know, I would tell him, babe, I just want you to watch next time and see what happens. Just watch and see what she does. And then he caught it, you know, when she would walk up and they would just immediately go to him, bypass me, and not say two words to me. And he corrected it, you know, and put them down. Now you got to speak to my wife. Yeah. Here's my wife. You know, so I think that, and going back to like the friends and the time length and things like that, there's certain people who Anthony can go hang with, like y'all, and you know who you are, you know, his boys, and he can go out as long as he wants to, because I trust that the people who he's around, those men, speak life into him and not allow him to do anything outside of what I know God has called him to do and what I know that's in him to do. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with my girlfriends. Most of the ones who are married and the ones who aren't, they speak life into me, and they're going to encourage me to love on my husband. They ain't gonna sit up and listen to me bash him and talk about him. They're gonna help me build my marriage, not tear it down. So you just have to use discernment in those friends who you have with you.
And it's also a mature thing, because at first I would always say, Andrew, it's you. You're just being sensitive. You're just being dramatic. You're just being this. You're being that. And the fact of the matter is, every time that I looked around, I had to come back and apologize, because she was right.
Yeah.
And so God gives you a helpmeet for a reason. And especially these past 5 years, I've grown so much in just realizing that her words are life. They speak life. If you are getting a warning sign from your wife about something, it speaks life. I don't care what it is, because she's the other half of what God has given to you. So I've just had to get in the position of yielding. All this year has been, and anybody that talks to me, I say it all the time, 2020 has been a year of yielding, especially when it comes to my marriage and listening to the insight that God, we always say we want to hear God's voice. I believe the best way that you can hear God's voice is listen to that woman that's sitting, or that man that's sitting next to you.
Yeah.
And,
I truly believe that.
And, a lot of you men are saying that like your wives have that intuition. It's funny because it's the complete opposite for Daniel and I. I was the friend that I'm like, no, babe, he don't like me. Friendly.
I believe that.
Really like that. He just really sweet. And Daniel's sitting over there like. So I definitely had to learn to like, okay, you need to, one arm hug, brother. Like, back up. We just need one arm hug. Even being married and hugging other husbands, he was just like, okay, y'all a little bit too close. And he was the one that was telling me, because I am just like, if you know my personality, I'm just like, I just want to hug everybody and love on everybody, and not paying attention to the fact that he might be hugging me a little too long or hugging me the wrong way or whatever, and not even letting that thought cross my mind. So I definitely agree with you, Anthony, on that, like allowing my husband to speak wisdom into me and to pay attention to those things and to watch out for those things. Definitely something
I agree.
Yeah. Just wanted to say something. Thank you for bringing that up, Anthony. That is a good point. I wanted to bring up a scenario, or I pose a question: whose responsibility is it when you feel like that those boundaries are being crossed in your relationship? Is there a prior conversation that needs to take place if we're out in public, and let's say, like in the scenario with you, Andrian, when the lady turned her back on you or whatever? How did you determine who was the person that needed to step forward and address that situation? Is that something that you guys worked out privately? I remember you mentioned that you came back to him and told him watch and be on the lookout in case this happens again. And so the next time it happened, he caught that and he addressed the situation. Is that the working relationship? Is that how that works, or is it usually incumbent on the person whose friend it is to protect that friend? How does that work?
Well, it was, so initially I said nothing in hopes that he would catch it. So I came to him and I said, babe, look, these women, this is what they're doing. I want you to watch next time we're at church. She's not going to speak to me. And he would say to me, Andrian, you're not the one speaking. Andrian, it's you. I know you. You don't like people. You don't do this. You don't do that. And so I said, okay, watch the next time. Then I would literally stand by him, go to speak, and she'd walk right past me and go to him. And he finally caught it and was like, babe, I'm so sorry.
So we had a very, very similar, very, very almost identical situation.
It was you, Jamil. It was you. That's what it was.
So we, of course, everyone knows I'm a talkative person. I don't meet a stranger, and Jameen is she's more quiet. She's on the more reserved side. So we would be at church, and people will literally walk in between the two of us or cut her off and talk to me. And I'm so into the conversation, I don't realize what's going on. But when she tells me about it later, I said the exact same thing. I said, well, you're just being dramatic. I mean, why didn't you speak? Or, you just don't like people and you quiet. People, I think I even said you're intimidating. People don't know what you're going to respond. Like, I pointed so many fingers at her. Why am I putting all my business on the line? Anyway, maybe it's saving somebody.
Speaking the truth.
Right.
She speaks up now. But anyway, I told her, I said, when it happens again, I need you to do something, like intervene and say something. Let me know when it happens so I can see it, because right now I'm not seeing it. And by golly gee, it happened again. And she said, well, hello. how are you to the person, like, and it was so dramatic and loud. No, ain't nobody know what to do. They was like, what in the world's going on here? But like she intervened and was like, okay, she claimed her territory and said, hello, I'm here. How are you? And from that point, people are now like, okay, let me back off. I'm losing friends. But in the meantime, like, she's stepping up. I'm seeing this. I'm seeing what's happening, and it's crazy how certain people in the relationship can see something and the other person can't.
Yeah, and I was going to also say this, Jamil. The fact of the matter is, and to answer your question, you asked whose responsibility is it? I think that once she brought it to me, it became my responsibility. Initially, if she saw it and she were going to deal with it, then she would take the ownership and she would deal with it. But when you bring it back home to me, instead of me shooting you down, and it's not insecurity. Men, we have to stop saying this. Women, we have to, oh, you just insecure. No, there's something there. It's not insecurity. I'm telling you, if the devil can get a foothold, he's going to try to take over the whole thing. And the fact of the matter is, when you see cracks in your foundation, it's time to act then, and not when the devil is in the bed with your husband or your wife.
Lord,
so when she finally came to me and she said, hey, I need you to watch. The next time I came to church, I saw the sister do it. I pulled Andrew right in and said, here's my wife right here. Because that was my responsibility to protect what we have. If I don't protect, the thing about it is, if you don't go and you don't protect what you have, what's going to happen is they're going to see it as commonplace to do it all over again. And so that disrespect will continue. Go ahead, DK.
And also, I will say that sometimes it's not malicious, and I'm saying that because I've done that. I went and saw a pastor at church, spoke to the pastor, his wife and child was standing right there, and I didn't even acknowledge them. I was about to walk away, and it came to my mind and said, how can I do something like that? So I turned around and said, I really apologize. I didn't realize that you guys were standing there. I'm sorry. I spoke with him, but I didn't acknowledge you. So I make sure to speak to the wife. So people in ministry, sometimes that happens. But if it happens a lot, then definitely you need to check that.
Yeah. And I feel like sometimes, go ahead, Sam.
I'll be quick, I promise. I also think that if like say it was one of Daniel's friends that was bypassing me, if I'm the one to check the friend and Daniel doesn't even see it, that can cause friction between us. So I think that if I were to just wait and speak to him and privately about it and let him see it for himself, then yes, he should definitely be the one to go ahead and handle the situation, because we ain't trying to create no conflict between us about somebody who don't even matter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not at all.
And times too, I feel like it's happened to Andrea and I numerous times, and I feel like the first time it happens, you have a private conversation. You say, such and such, you were talking to somebody and they didn't acknowledge me. All right, cool. You have a private conversation. If it happens again, I feel like the person that does the act of not acknowledging your spouse, you need to it's gonna be messed up, but embarrass them in the way to where they you gotta check them on the spot. Like, hey, you're not about to come and just speak to me and not speak to my spouse. Because I because sometimes even some of my friends, if they come to the house and they're they're ready to just kind of get started or whatever, they'll slap me up and stuff like that. I have to be go in the kitchen, say hi to my wife. You can't in here and not say hi.
Right.
It's her house too. So I feel you need to embarrass people so that they don't do it again.
Not even so much embarrass them, but here, the thing about it is, when you change from one role to another role, when you're changing from bachelor to being locked down with somebody, it really, really throws people off. People really think that you're still in the same state that you were in when you first hung out with them or when you were first friends with them. And I think that's where people sort of kind of have blurred lines, because a lot of Eric's friends, they don't mean anything by it. It's just that when they see Eric, they see, we're going to my boy's house. That's all they see. They're going to their boy's house. So it's not I just don't care about the wife. They love me too. But it's they get so excited to just be hanging out and just they're so happy that Eric is free that it's yeah, like let's just get going. So so that's
Right.
but when it comes to y'all females, I don't trust.
Call them out.
You need them.
Drea,
You need
Drea, go back in your shell. Drea, go back in your shell, Drea.
Every single one, okay? I don't be trusting y'all.
Man,
I don't trust anybody.
Y'all share this
Right.
stream, share this live stream. Let them know. Let them hear it. I better stop walking up to these married men.
I even make it.
Hey, can I also put this out there though? Can I say this?
No.
It is not single people. All right, single people are not evil.
Oh yeah.
And I think that we really have to get out of the mindset that everybody is out to destroy your marriage.
True. Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of internal stuff that we need to deal with, but we have to stop putting it on the single community. You got some trifling ones out there. Y'all know who y'all are. But most of the time, it's the husband or the wife in the relationship that's looking at the single person than the single person that's looking at y'all.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that we say that. And everybody has been single before they got married.
Yeah.
So we can't forget where we come from. Put those boundaries up. Do what you need to do. Protect your house. I always do that. That's first and foremost for me. I'm going to protect this house. I'm going to honor what my wife has to say when it comes to the declarations that she's making with the judgment of people's character, because she does have that gift of discernment. But at the end of the day, also, we have to pray and uplift our singles.
Yeah.
Because they too, they're not choosing always to be single, you know. But I do believe that they get a bad rap a lot of the time, and I'm not defending y'all, but I'm also putting a little stick in here for y'all. They want to be loved, and they want somebody that's going to cherish and honor them as well. So you can't always just say, "Oh, you single, you the devil." No,
Right.
no, that's not the case. Come to the other people that are outside your house.
Yeah.
Say, as you know, being married, if I'm out in public or something, or I'm somewhere separate of Daniel, and I see someone that I went to high school with or that I grew up with, and they're with their spouse and I'm by myself, if I know the guy, I will go and speak. But not even 2 seconds after I say hi to him, I am introducing myself to his wife. I'm telling her, "Hi, I'm Samantha. We went to school together. We worked together. ABC." Like, I want to let her know that I respect your marriage and your boundaries. Yeah. And even though I'm not with my husband in that moment, I'm another woman. You know what I'm saying? I'm just some other woman that she don't know, she never seen. And in that moment, it can still be viewed as disrespect, even though I'm married as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So I make sure to acknowledge and introduce myself to her in that moment as well.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question, Mike and Erica? What do you all think about what we've been saying as far as the relationship, dealing with single people coming into your home, having those friends outside of the household? I know you all discussed it just a little bit, but I know our time is winding down, but I wanted to ask that question. How do you really feel about the sharing of responsibility when it comes to the friendships?
That's a great question. Well, if we could be transparent, we struggled with this early on in our marriage, and if the truth be told, my wife will tell you it took a little longer than usual for us to overcome that, because like you said earlier, I just, I totally discredited a lot of the things my wife was telling me about certain individuals crossing boundaries that we set forth. And I just really didn't, I've used the same mantra, "Hey, you're being insecure. I don't see it that way. Maybe you're looking at this from the wrong perspective," and those kind of things. And that really, that was damaging early on in our marriage, as far as that resentment was starting to build up because she felt like she wasn't being heard. It took, like you said, a level of maturity and growth to really sit back and look at the situation and determine, hey, maybe my wife was right.
But that didn't take place without God, So over the years, I'm saying, that she kind of overstepped here. She's asking for you again. I'm like, I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to be nice. So I really kind of had to give up. I was like, I've given him reason after reason, and I just hit a brick wall. So I just stayed on my knees and I prayed. I was like, God, I don't know what else to do, but I see it clear as day. And Mama said, when somebody shows you their colors, you better believe them.
Yeah.
So that's what it was like. But it took a really serious situation, I think. And then Mike was like, okay, all right. After years and years and years, okay, Erica, I see where you're coming from. I think it was one comment that she made or something, but he finally got it. And I believe since then, he's been, more open. It had nothing to do with I'm grateful for the experience, and I believe that he's come a long way, and that if I say something now, he won't question me. He will know that it's not coming from a place of insecurity. It's just straight up, wrong, or this is how I feel. So.
Real quick, I think another thing is when you find yourself fighting for a relationship outside of your actual marital union, you have a problem. Oh. So, and it's really, you can't really explain it. You're just going in and trying to defend someone that, like you said, doesn't really matter, because in the grand scheme of things, what God has put together, let no man or woman or situation put asunder. So when you find yourself getting to that level and defending other people outside of your marriage behavior and what they did, and saying, oh, that she didn't mean anything by that, then you know that you're really in a situation that you need to come out and really reevaluate what your priorities are and where your allegiance lies. So it was very eye-opening. So to answer your question, we really have been very proactive with safeguarding our marriage, putting those boundaries up. Even with families, sometimes we can be friends, but sometimes families fear and cross those marital boundaries where you almost have to put people that you love and people that have raised you, parents, i.e. siblings, in their place as well too. So God, the marital union is so sacred, and God wants us to make sure that we maintain that sanctity within our marriage. So, very good.
It hasn't been easy to put it that way, but I believe that we're in a better place.
That's good. I wanted to hit this comment that I guess it's Lakia, where she says, when the situation is addressed decently and in order, it helps the couple maintain the Holy Spirit so that the couple doesn't lose their witness. And this is talking about the single friends or whoever, the person that may be offending your marriage. The reality is, as Christians, we are in the business of people.
Yeah.
Very well said. Very well said.
But if you single, don't come to my house. I bet you that much. I'm going to take. No, I'm just kidding. I appreciate that. Absolutely.
And that was a very good point, Mike, that you brought out about fighting about things or relationships outside of your marriage, like fighting for things that goes against you and your husband. That was something that Daniel and I struggled with in the beginning of our marriage as well, because those of you that know me, I am a social butterfly. I'm extreme extrovert. I don't meet strangers. I make friends everywhere I go. And for a long time before Daniel and I got together, my friends was like my livelihood. Like I fed off of that. And so when we got married, he was like, okay, we're going to have to calm this down a little bit. And I'm like, what? You tripping? Like, these are good people. These are Christian people. Like, I'm like, you tripping. And I used to go hard and like argue and like defend the right to be friends with them and to spend time with them and to talk with them. And what I was doing was allowing the devil a foothold in our marriage through those friendships. And instead of bringing us closer together, it was bringing us further apart, which was bad because we were newlyweds. You know, that ain't the way we were supposed to go. We were supposed to be even closer and becoming one, you know. And so that's definitely something that I had to learn. Like, wait a minute, what am I fighting for here? Why am I fighting so hard for this friendship or this person when he's who I'm going to be spending the rest of my life with? Like, you're going to be my friend, but at the end of the night, you going to your home and I'm going to be here with him.
Yeah.
So if it comes down to it, if I got to have peace in my home. I have to have peace in my marriage. I want to be happy in my marriage. So if that means you got to go your separate ways and we can't be friends no more, hey, because this is for life. And this is the relationship that I have to prioritize and put first and put above any other relationship, because this is where my home is.
Yeah. Jameen and I made this agreement that we are each other's best friend. There is no friend above, there is no, oh, this is my best friend, this is her best friend. We decided that we are each other's best friend. If there's something that I need to talk to somebody about that's dealing with my spouse, I decide, hey, no better person to talk about it with than my spouse. That's what I'm dealing with. She can answer that problem. She can help me better understand. So, great point, Samantha.
Hey, did you ask the question already, Jamil, about putting these women in priority in your life? I saw that somewhere that was written, and it said it had your wife on there, it had your daughter on there, it had your mom on there. That was question number one.
That was week one.
I think that's still I think that's still important now, because even in talking marriage, your wife, sometimes it gets out of order. It gets out of order where you put your friends at, where you put your mother at. My mother's not at the top of my board, and I love my mother. I'm what they would call a mama's boy. Yeah. But don't be agreeing with me, Jamil.
Well, I'm amening myself.
Yeah, you are my boy. But it said, where do these women fall at in your life? And the fact of the matter is, some of us really have to take our mothers, our sisters, our aunties, all of them. We have to take off that map and put them in the perspective of understanding there's God first, and then anybody else below my wife can fall in where they need to get in. But she can't have priority below God. You know what I'm saying? Any other, she can't, and to put anybody else in that place, I think you're yourself in the foot. So it's my wife. It said, where does my daughter fall in there? It's my wife. It's God. It's my wife. It's my daughter. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm now in charge of training up this child in the way that she should go now. So these priorities, they are important, that you put these boundaries in place and prioritize man and the woman in your life. After God, this marriage is sacred, yo, and it's serious. And I'm done.
Yes. Very good thoughts there. Thank you.
All right. Hey, well, we have reached our time. I don't know why we've been going over. Y'all, originally, when we started this thing, we said we were going to do 30 minutes. And
we did.
Y'all see how that's happening.
We did.
Now we're 30 hours.
Right. Man, so this has been great. Hey, Eric, you didn't put I think we had came up with the topic for the Father's Day weekend, but you didn't put it in there. Well,
we didn't discuss. We said we wanted to do the Father's Day topic. We never came up with one to discuss.
This my baby daddy.
This my baby daddy.
My baby daddy.
All right. Well, hey, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Awani's, for joining us in. Thank you, everybody, for watching. This has been a great discussion, great feedback. Hey, I think we're getting better and better, y'all. This is getting better and better. I'm excited. Can you all stay on the live? I'm going to go unlive. Y'all stay backstage so we can have closing prayer after that. But Eric, can you close us out?
Yeah, let's pray. All right, dear Father, thank you so much for this opportunity we had to come together as married couples to discuss having a relationship with our single friends. We thank you for our views that we had tonight. We ask that as we were discussing that our viewers were able to all learn something and gather the information that they can use in their marriages. We ask that you would bless each one of us, bless our families, our finances, and bring us all back together in next 2 weeks. Forgive us for all of our sins and cleanse from righteousness. In Christ, my do pray. Amen.
Amen.